Drew Manning. What's up, man?
Larry, hey man, thanks for having me back on. It's been a while.
As I ask what's up, I should just be like, oh, it's your weight, right?
Yeah. Good one. That's a good one.
It's a good dad joke. It's good. It's a dad show, man. Come on. Man.
Yeah. We all like dad jokes. They're funny to us, at least,
Right. Yeah, man. Oh man, it's been a while since I've seen you. I think it was probably 2015 when you first came on.
Dang, that was a long time ago, man. 5 years ago, really?
I think so.
Man, we're so old now.
I know. So, well, I mean, yeah, you are because you're overweight.
Turning 40 this year, and I'm gaining weight again, right? So I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Oh my gosh, what a journey! So for those of you guys who didn't hear Drew Manning's first show, we'll have it in the show notes for you, so no worries. But Drew, dude, so most people, they're looking to improve their health. You're looking to, just dig your grave faster. So what is going on in your life, my friend? Bring us up to speed.
Yeah.
And kind of refresh us on why Fit to Fat even came to be.
Yeah. So just to refresh everyone's memory, back in 2011, I did my first Fit to Fat to Fit experiment where, for the first 30 years of my life, I was in shape. I grew up playing football, wrestling. I had 11 brothers and sisters. We all played sports. So I was always active. Never once was overweight. Right. And then all of a sudden I became a personal trainer in 2009. And here I was, someone who had never been overweight a day in my life, trying to help people who were overweight pretty much every day of their life. And I couldn't understand why it was so hard for them. I'm like, you guys, you just put the junk food down, you go to the gym. Like, how hard could it be? Because in my mind, I'm like, it's so simple. And it's been simple my whole life. And then, of course, there was a disconnect. And one of my clients told me, Drew, you don't understand what it's like for us, or people like us, because for us, it's hard. And I kind of took that to heart. And so that's where the first idea of Fit to Fat to Fit kind of entered my mind, where I'm like, man, what if I got fat on purpose? I know it sounds crazy, but what if I did that and then documented it? Would it give me a better understanding? And just, the story in a nutshell is for 6 months, I let myself go, gained 75 pounds of pure fat in those 6 months, documented the whole thing. The story went viral, went on TV shows like Dr. Oz, Good Morning America, Jay Leno, The View, all these shows, because it was kind of an extreme idea. Luckily I lost the weight. So Fit to Fat to Fit, right? Got back. I got back. That's an important part of the story. And then from there, I wrote a book, became a New York Times bestseller, had 2 seasons of a TV show called Fit to Fat to Fit on A&E. And that most people know me as the Fit to Fat to Fit guy. Well, here we are 10 years later almost, and I'm embarking on my second Fit to Fat to Fit experiment. I'm 7 weeks in currently to this Fit to Fat to 40 journey, because I'm turning 40 this year. So that's one of the main reasons I'm doing it again, is to experiment as a 40-year-old, because we all know people, our age, that are like, oh man, it's not as easy. My metabolism's changing. My hormones are different, and I can't lose the weight like I used to. So I'm like, all right, let's do this together as a team, as a community, and I'll be right there with you. And the second reason, Larry, is because of the importance of empathy. I learned this from my first experiment. The fitness industry is just an industry that lacks empathy. They judge people who are overweight. It's very judgmental. And so after that first experiment, I'm like, you know what? I was so humbled, and it was way harder than I thought it would be. I'm like, it taught me empathy finally, because I was the judgmental person. I was like, you guys, it's so simple. Like, why do you struggle with this when it's so easy? Thinking like it should be easy for everyone. And I was truly humbled. And so empathy has been a huge part of my brand since then. And so now I'm on a mission to bring empathy to the fitness industry by doing it a second time, to get my message across of the importance of empathy for those that struggle with their weight. Because it's not as simple as eating less and working out. It's not just a physical journey of like, dude, put down the junk food and go to the gym. Like it's easy. There's a mental and emotional component that's overlooked. And I'm trying to bring awareness to that, so that people understand that just because someone's overweight doesn't mean they're lazy, or doesn't mean they don't have discipline or don't have willpower. And so anyways, we'll get more into that, I'm sure, but that's kind of where we're at now.
I love that brand of, I love the addition of empathy, right? Because you're exactly right. I mean, I was overweight half my life. I was overweight till I was 17. I was that kid that, everybody made fun of at the pool for having jiggly man boobs and no athletic abilities and all this stuff. And dude, that sucked, man. Like it. And here's the other thing too. If you've been overweight, and now right? If you've been overweight, that's almost terrifying. Me and my oldest boys. Have you ever seen the movie Just Friends?
Yeah. Yes. I love that one.
But you're kind of living it right now, just
Yeah.
just backwards, right?
Exactly.
So, I was overweight. I always joke around that I had the life of Chris Brander, right? When every chick had me in the friend zone. I was fat. I was, all this stuff. And then I finally lost weight when I was about 18. And then I got in really good shape right around 19, 20 years old. And,
Yeah.
I've kind of gone through fluffy stages here and there, but what I can tell you is that there's always that fat kid, man. There's always that fat person in me. And if you've been overweight, like you have, there is, and like clients have, right? I mean, there's that part of you. It's like, wow, that was hard. That was really, really hard. So how's this really impacted you, confidence and just everything in your life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm really excited to talk about this because this is something that's, like I said, I'm trying to bring awareness to, and you understand it because you've been there. And for me, it took me purposely doing what I did to finally gain a better understanding, not an exact understanding, because let's be honest, like what I did is not the same as the way you grew up. Like maybe you were bullied, maybe you were made fun of, or you just felt self-conscious. Like for me, it took me going through Fit to Fat to Fit to kind of gain at least a better understanding, right? I'll never know what you went through or what other people go through. But what it did is it taught me to separate, and this is what happens to a lot of people who grew up, a certain way. Separate your body image from your self-image. And like you said, you still have that mentality sometimes as the fat kid because we attach our body image as our self-image. And I didn't know what that meant until I did Fit to Fat to Fit, and I became, I freaked out. Like I was so uncomfortable being overweight. I felt like I had to go explain to strangers that I didn't even know, like, hey, you guys, I'm not really overweight. This is just an experiment. I just wanted you to know, even though I don't know you, like I don't really look like this. I felt the urge to go explain to people because I was so uncomfortable being overweight for the first time. And that first experience doing it the first time really taught me that I am more than my body. But it took me going through like some rock bottom moments where I felt super self-conscious, no self-confidence. I was married at the time. I remember being intimate with my wife. Like I would always have the lights off. I didn't want her to see me naked. I didn't want to see myself naked. And it was really eye-opening for me to go through that because now I understand the mental and emotional challenges that come with a true transformation, because a lot of it has to do with self-worth. A lot of it has to do with trauma or challenges that stem from childhood, and we cope with that trauma through substances, whether it's food, drugs, alcohol, sex, porn, you name it. We are a society where we distract and numb ourselves because it's easier to do that than it is to deal with the pain and the uncomfortableness of what we've been through. And so we gravitate towards certain things that make us feel better temporarily. And we create this vicious cycle where we continue that throughout our teenage years, 20s, 30s, and even into adulthood until we kind of face our demons, if you will, and release that. So that we can then have a better relationship with our bodies, and we see ourselves through a different lens. So we shift our perception, but it takes time, it takes work, it takes using different tools on the mental and emotional side, rather than, all right, which diet am I going to do that's going to fix my problems? Like once I get this body, then maybe that will solve my happiness issue. And maybe then I'll love myself. And maybe then people will love me. If I get this body, then people will respect me more. But I promise you, I know people with 5% body fat that still hate themselves, that still are miserable, that still don't think they're good enough. So it's not that. It's not like chasing after money. It's not that solves your problems.
I just want to applaud you for a second, man, because you're saying some truly authentic things from a man's perspective that most men don't say out loud.
Yeah.
So thanks for speaking for us. Certain things like turning the lights off, not being proud of your body, not looking in the mirror when you walk past it and that kind of thing. A lot of dudes, we don't say that out loud. We keep that stuff pretty darn close to the chest. And if God forbid, we say that kind of stuff out loud because you're like, come on, man, you're a dude, you're supposed to be, but yeah, let's dive into this just a little deeper. Sure. As a man, father, husband, significant other, all these things, right? Your body, like it or not, and I don't mean this from a superficial part of me, right? I don't mean this from a shallow part of me, because I know what it feels like to be overweight. I know what it feels like to be made fun of. I remember going to the public pools and dreading taking off my shirt because people were going to point at me and laugh and that kind of thing. But what did this do to your mentality? Like if you could get really raw, like really authentic with how this felt to you, what did it feel like?
Oh man. So obviously, comparing the first time I did it to now, I just want to let you know I have a different perception of myself. Like I'm in a much better place where I'm not as judgmental towards myself. Like that first experience was truly humbling, was truly something I needed to go through to have a different understanding. Cause now going through it a second time, I'm more self-aware where I'm like, look, I'm not as attached to my body image as I used to be. But I'll tell you how I went from that first experience to what I went through to get me to where I'm like, hey, like I know my body's overweight, but it's all good. Like I still love myself. So I'll tell you how I got from there, the first experience, to here. So that first experience, that mentality of it was in a way shame. Like I felt ashamed of who I was because I felt like my only worth to this world was my body. And like if I didn't have that, then who was I? And so it was kind of like a mask I was wearing, a protective thing, if you will, to protect myself from like dealing with the self-hate that I grew up with. So to be really honest with you, like I grew up with a lot of self-hate because of the culture I was raised in, from sports to religion to my family culture. My perception was that I had to be perfect or else I was a failure. And there was no in between. Like a B+ was an F. Same thing with the A-. Well, that was an F in my family's eyes. And so I was like, man, this pressure to be perfect was really, really hard. And so so what I did to develop a self-defense mechanism is I hid my mistakes. I hid my weaknesses. I was like, you know what? It's better to pretend on the outside and just deal with the inner demons on the inside and pretend like they don't exist. So I'm just going to suppress these feelings of feeling like a failure and try and be confident on the outside so that other people like me, because I couldn't deal with the imperfections and the sins. And so you develop a lot of self-hate because guess what? You're not perfect. You're human. You're going to make mistakes. And I couldn't deal with the guilt and the shame of letting people know about those. So man, that kind of mentality carried over into my first Fit to Fat to Fit experience, where I was like, well, at least I have my body. That's the one thing I can control. And that's the one thing that society places value on. So people are like, oh yeah, Drew's the ripped fit guy. So we look up to him because of that. But take that away. Who was I without that? Like, what's my identity without this body? And I had to go through that freak out moment where during that first experience where I didn't know who I was without that body. And man, it took a lot of wrestling with my inner demons to eventually figure that out. And just to fast forward a little bit, I went to a life coach, therapy, started reading books. Brene Brown, she's got some really good books, Daring Greatly. I highly recommend every man read that book. But also Loving What Is by Byron Katie's another good book. And so these types of things, therapy, life coaching, books, really helped me shift my perception of myself. Even though I had these weaknesses and these sins, if you will, it was learning to accept myself despite those mistakes that I had made in the past and move forward with some self-love. And I know a lot of guys don't talk about, like, that's weird. What's self-love? Like, we don't talk about that as men. But I promise you, man, like if you can own your story and you can show up and, like Brene Brown talks about, step into the arena, there's power in that. And you then get to write the ending to your story instead of you being almost a leaf in the wind and just going wherever people accept you, wherever people like you, because you're so afraid of offending other people. You're like, this is the authentic version of me. This is how I show up. And you know what? I freaking love myself, and I'm proud of who I am. And then from there, you don't sabotage. You don't do failure-like things because you think you're a failure. And so you break that habit. You break that programming. And so hopefully that makes sense. But that's kind of how I got from where I was back then to where I am today, where I'm doing this a second time. I'm 35 pounds up in 7 weeks. But I'm like, you know what? Like, it's all good. Like, I still have struggles every now and then, for sure. Like, taking my shirt off at a pool, I'm like, man, I used to be in shape. And like, it feels good to be in shape and take that feeling of taking your shirt off and feeling good, right? I miss that. But I also tell myself, you know what? This is temporary. Like, your body can do these amazing things. And for 4 months, you're sacrificing your physique for the greater good, at least the way I see it. And guess what? 4 months from now, you'll be able to exercise, eat healthy again. Like, your body will eventually go back. And even if it doesn't, if it's not perfect, your body can still do these amazing things. So sorry, that was a long-winded answer.
I welcome that long-winded answer, man. That was that was really, really good. From a, let's talk about this from a dad perspective.
Okay.
Because you didn't have your girls when you first did this, right? Or
well, they were a newborn and 2 years old. So yeah, they were really young.
All right. How old are you? And your girls are what, 12 and 10?
9 and 11.
9 and 11. Okay. I'm not good at math.
That's okay. You were close. You were close, man.
What has this done to you as a father? showing up for them. I mean, I know this is your second go around. You definitely have a different outlook on it than you do the last time, but how does this feel like energy wise, even like your emotional capacity to show up for them? Do you feel the same level of energy that you did when you were fit?
It's a good question, man. It's kind of like I compare it to all the moms. I don't know if any moms listen to this, but the dads that have wives, they know what this is about. Like when your wife has a baby, she's like, man, that was miserable. I'm never doing that again. And then a couple years go by and you're like, let's have another baby. And she's like, yeah, I don't think it was that bad. And then she's pregnant again. And she's like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? So I'm kind of in that mode right now where I'm like, man, this is way harder than I remember it being. But showing up as a dad, like when they were, little kids, 0 and 2, like it was a totally different approach. They didn't really know what I was doing. Now that they're 9 and 11, they're more self-aware. I actually had a meeting between me, my girlfriend, who's good friends with my ex-wife. And we all sat down before this journey started. And I wanted to have a meeting with all of us and say, hey, how can we help our 2 daughters go through this journey and keep them somewhat with a healthy mindset and a healthy body without making it about guilt or shame or good foods versus bad foods, and like how do we navigate those waters, because they're so sensitive, man. And with social media and everything out there, like it scares me with how much I think girls struggle with body image more than men do. And so I'm like, how can we almost like keep them from like what I'm doing and have them come out of it with a good relationship. So what we did was we had some boundaries. We set up some rules for the girls to let them know like what I'm doing. It doesn't just affect my body. Yeah, you're going to see daddy's belly grow and his love handles, and it's going to be kind of funny. But just, there's like, daddy's not going to be the same person. And we just sat down with them the other day and they're like, daddy's more angry. Like he gets angrier quicker or he has less patience with us. And I'm like, man, it's so true. And I like wish I could control that. But this is why I'm bringing awareness to this, is to all the men listening out there. Just because you eat unhealthy and just because you don't exercise doesn't just affect your fat. It affects you at the core of who you are. Like you show up a different version of a dad when you are physically healthy versus you're unhealthy. Does that make sense? And so, man, it's been an eye-opener even for me and for my girls to see this different version of me. And that's what we're trying to bring awareness to them. Is like, hey, girls, you can have these foods for sure, but when you overconsume them, you eat them all the time, guess what? Yeah, you might get a tummy ache, but you see how daddy's changing. You see all these things that's happening to him where he's taking naps throughout the day and he's a little bit lazier and he doesn't have the energy to play with you guys as much and he's a little bit crankier. Like that also happens to you when you eat these foods on a consistent basis. And so it's been really eye-opening for, I think, me and my following, is that, man, this affects you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, your sexual health. It can affect your finances because your ability to be motivated to do extra work just isn't there. Like when you have major brain fog and you're feeling lethargic throughout the day, yeah, you could stay up an extra hour writing emails or writing that blog post or reading that book. But instead you're like, nah, man, I'm just so tired. Give me that Netflix and chill ice cream from Ben and Jerry's and watch some football, or you kind of gravitate towards those less productive decisions. So hopefully that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, man. And you know what? Let's clear the air on some things here. Most importantly, what is going on with that black dog behind you that keeps walking away? He's got like a pink mohawk. For those of you guys, check out our YouTube channel. The black dog is not in the background right now, but check out our YouTube channel. I have it in the show notes, goodadproject.com/297. You got a poodle in the back that's got like this pink mohawk. It keeps grabbing my attention. What is going on with that dog, Drew?
I can't see behind me. That's my girlfriend's poodle. She dyes his little mohawk different colors. She just did red. It's actually red. It used to be pink. And then went purple. I can't remember a blue, and then now he's red. So I apologize. I can't really see behind me. So if you see a red poodle or a red mohawk poodle, that's just, he's part of the family.
There he is, right there. There he is. Guys, go check out our YouTube channel. Promise you, it's in the show notes. goodadproject.com/297. You'll see the dog right now in the background. Yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, no. So just to clear the air, yeah, I had to ask, man. I was like,
good, man.
Am I seeing things? So. But let's just clear the air on a few things. Yeah. I think when it comes to taking care of yourself physically. So I just got done with, I'm actually, as we record this show, I'm in phase 2 of 75 hard.
Yeah.
And I got done with, thank you.
It's not called 75 easy. It's 75 hard. So congrats, dude. I know it's hard.
Dude, it's hard. It is. But you know what? I love it, man. After we got done with 75 hard, I was like, I'm not a big beer guy, but I do like pumpkin beer, and it's out this time of year. I bought a 6-pack of it, drank 3 of them, and I was just like, I woke up the next day, 3 beers. Okay. I basically have the alcohol tolerance of a 16-year-old girl on prom who's 90 pounds, but not that I was drunk. But what I will tell you is I was like, I woke up, my head was pounding. I was like, holy crap, man, my body just really doesn't like this shit anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's clear the air on what it means to be physically fit. Okay. So I'm 45, man. I mean, you don't need a 6-pack. Okay. You don't need to be like the ripped dude at the pool. Okay. That's not what we're talking about. Right. But what we are talking about here is self-care, right? Doing something for your body that will benefit you mentally and emotionally so you can selflessly serve on a more profound level. And yeah, you're right. I mean, I notice when I am, I'm sure you'll appreciate this. If I go out drinking and I wake up the next morning, there's, a hangover is bad.
Yes.
A hangover with kids is awful. It's the worst thing ever. Right.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with if you constantly eat just terribly and you kind of get, but the thing is, it's kind of sneaky, right? You sort of get used to this feeling of I feel like crap, but it's sort of always there. Yeah. So you don't need a 6-pack, but talk to us a little bit about busy fathers, the benefits of self-care. What do you recommend to our guys, as far as what's optimal?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And I think this is what I'm trying to do is shift people's perception of what success looks like in health and fitness. Because our perception of success is 5% body fat, ripped, shredded. That's what I need to do to get healthy. And then we try and work towards that. We're like, man, I only lost 5 pounds this month or last month. It's not working. I might as well go back to eating junk food again, because at least I got to enjoy the food I'm eating. And so that's the problem with our perception is it's all about the results. It's all about, hey, once I get these results, man, then my life will be better. And so the key, in my opinion, is shifting your perception of what success looks like, because it's not about getting the body. And I hate to quote Miley Cyrus on here, but it's it really is all about the climb. It's not about getting to the top and then all of a sudden your problems go away. It's about that climb and becoming, the better version of yourself as you make that journey up. It was never about getting the body, but it's about loving yourself enough to treat your body with, like you said, self-care, because you're worth it. You know what? It feels good to eat vegetables versus eating a lot of processed junk food. And I'm worth it. I'm worthy to feel good. So I'm going to treat myself kindly because I love myself and I want to feel that way because I'm a better dad. I'm a better father. I'm a better spouse better dad, better spouse, better brother, better employee, better business owner, you name it. You're a better version of yourself when you take care of your physical health. It doesn't have to be the 5% body fat. It's just those habits. It's about falling in love with the process of eating mostly healthy food most of the time and treating yourself kindly with exercise where it's not a punishment, where it's all right, man, how can I suffer today? It's okay, what hard thing can I do that's going to push my body to a certain level to give me those results that I want? But I'm doing it not for the results, but because I'm worth it. I want to show up as the best dad for my kids. Well, guess what? You having energy to play with them and you not having brain fog to be able to help them with their math or sit down and play a game with them or just be present with them. That's the biggest thing. And so the key is to increase your self-awareness of all right, what am I doing with my life when I eat these foods? Why am I gravitating towards these unhealthy foods? The biggest key to overcome that is self-awareness. So what that means is it's kind of like becoming the observer of your thoughts rather than becoming your thoughts, where you're not as reactive to your emotions. You're more taking a step back. You're seeing what's triggering you, right? My kids did this. My wife did that. Finances are crazy with my business. So I'm stressed out. My emotions are all over the place. And instead of reacting, in the moment and just thoughtfully or not thoughtfully reacting, you can take a step back, observe like a movie, what's happening. And then from there, you're all right, well, here's what I could do in this situation. I could yell back at my kids because I'm stressed out about my business, or I could treat my wife meanly or not very nice because I'm stressed out with X, Y, or Z. And you can just thoughtfully respond in those moments where you're more in control. Same thing with food. You're like, all right, well, I had a stressful day at work. I'm going to go get the pumpkin beer and a pizza because it's easier and it helps me feel, somewhat better. But you realize what you're doing is a vicious cycle of kind of self-sabotage, And I'm not saying you need to eat perfectly all the time, but having a healthy balance with food and a healthy balance with exercise and a healthy balance with your body is the key, in my opinion, to overall health. And that's what success needs to look like. It doesn't matter about the body fat or the results. It's about doing the process because you're worth it. And you want to show up the best version of yourself as a dad, as a spouse, as a business owner, whatever it is. And I mean, that's the truth.
I like how you work in like the pumpkin beer and the pizza and all that.
Sorry, that wasn't a stab at you.
It reminds me of that Family Guy episode where Peter's like, "Hey guys, let's go out and drink some beer so we don't have to feel our feelings." Right?
It's so true, man. That's a good one.
but no, you're exactly right, and it's just talk to us about that, which is if I can't achieve these results and look a certain way, then I'm just not going to do it at all. And it's not about the journey, and it's not about feeling pretty good along the way. It's like, if I can't, like you said, here, I'll share a quick story to really hit this home.
Sure. Yeah.
It was a year and a half ago. It was right before I did 75 hard for the first time. I was about 18% body fat, kind of like, I just got unfocused. I just was drinking too much. I wasn't really watching what I was eating, was skipping the gym. And I got on the scale. I was over 200 pounds for the first time in a long time. My body fat was high. And I was like, crap. Good friend of mine who's a trainer, he sat me down. He's like, all right, man, let's get you accountable. Like, let's work together for 5 months. And I'm like, okay. He's like, what are your goals? And I'm like, 8% body fat, 180 pounds. And he looked at me, he goes, why? And I was like, exactly what you just said. I was like, that's like healthy. He's like, yeah, but why? And I'm like, well, because that's where I feel good. He's like, but why? Like, he just kept asking. And I was like, I don't really know. And he's like, let me tell you something, man. You're a business owner. You're a father of 4 active boys. You're very, very busy. You're doing a lot of things. I can get you there, but you are going to be so unhappy and you are going to hate everyone in your life. Like, why don't we use this as an opportunity to just redefine health for you? Okay. And I was like, what? Right when he said that, let's take an opportunity to redefine health for you. Immediately, I just felt better. And I wasn't so focused on, okay, it's got to look this way or it's nothing, right? Because as men, we're extreme. Yeah. So talk to us about just overall high quality health. And we're talking to the guys who are between like 35 and 50, because you're doing the whole fit to fat over 40 now.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great question, man. And it really is redefining your relationship with health and what health looks like. But honestly, I think everyone has their own different level of happy balance, what that happy balance is. So yeah, like you said, 8% body fat, look, I can get you there, but that's going to be less time with your kids, less time with your spouse. You're probably going to be grumpier. You're going to have to measure your food, count your calories, count your macros. And like, are you really going to be happy at 8% body fat? Probably not. So let's find what your happy balance is. And all it is, like, honestly, it's not about, okay, what the body fat percentage is and the weight you are, but it's about, okay, I feel really good at this. I don't have the 6-pack maybe yet, but maybe there's seasons where maybe next year I'm going to do 75 hard twice and really go after that because my business is going well and life's going well, where I'm like, okay, I can dedicate more time to this. And maybe it's important to me for that moment, but just realize like right now I'm up 35 pounds. I'm up, like a 12% body fat. And I know that this is temporary. I know that I'm going to get through this and eventually I'll get back to exercising and eating healthy again. But like a few months ago, I did a 100-mile run. And just to kind of paint a picture for people, like that requires so much of my time to train for that. I had to keep telling myself, look, this is a temporary thing. After this 100-mile run, you can relax a little bit. You can stop running. And that's what I did. I'm like, there's going to be a season of training for something specific. And then from there, maybe they have a different goal. Like, it doesn't always have to be, okay, 8% body fat for the rest of my life, be tan, Manscaped, baby oil every time I take my shirt off, because that's what society has programmed me to believe. And that's the problem, is like you said, at that time, you're like, okay, I want to get 8% body fat. Well, why? And if you think about it, that's the way you've been programmed to think. Like, we've all been programmed from social media to the movies we watch in the 80s and 90s. And we think, oh man, I want to look like Arnold from Conan the Barbarian. Like, that's like our hero. And we're like, yeah, I want to look like that. And that's just the way we've been programmed. So it is, for people, finding what that happy balance is for you right now. Maybe you can fit in 3 20-minute workouts a week, and maybe that's all for now. And maybe you'll be focused on your diet if things get easier at work, or maybe you have more time on your hands. But the biggest thing is doing the best you can with what your situation is. So like you said, the all or nothing mentality has to go. Like, we have to get rid of that and just realize, like, hey, you know what? I'm only going to be able to eat one healthy meal today. And maybe I can't control what I eat the rest of the day, but I can control how much I eat. Maybe I just have smaller portions and just do my best. And maybe I can't get to the gym. Maybe I'm going to go for a bike ride with my kids. And unfortunately, that's going to have to be my workout. It's not going to give me a 6-pack, but guess what? It's going to bring me a lot of fulfillment in my life, spending time with my kids. Because your kids don't care what you look like. Your kids don't, they just want you to love them. And so that's the most important thing. And it really is redefining your relationship of what health looks like for you. And so I want people to understand that your version of healthy is going to look different on your body than my version of healthy. And that's okay. That's okay. And we need to be okay with that as men.
I love that, man. And I think I'm going to say this one final statement, then I want to ask you a question about what your end goal is for this whole thing, okay, and what you're wanting to do, like, with this journey over the next 5 years. I think a lot of men out there think, if I work out, take care of my fitness, that has to live in a totally separate world than my kids. Yeah. And doing 75 hard, what I could tell you is my second outdoor workout usually incorporated my kids. And maybe you count it as a workout, maybe you don't, but I'm telling you, man, you go to the skate park with a scooter and all those freaking half pipes, and you're holding on to those things for dear life. And, you're sweating and skating around for 2 hours. That's a heck of my Fitbit said I burned 700 calories. Wow. But so, I mean, stuff like that, or like you go on hikes, you go on walks. We did bike rides. Me and my kids went on bike rides. I mean, just things like that, to where, like, I don't have to work out. I get to go do something with them outside that also incorporates fitness. So I don't think that men have to, they don't have to be two separate worlds. Is what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree. But back to my question here with, what do you, 5 years from now, you look back on Fit to Fat to Fit, over 40, what is your long-term vision with this? What's the desired end state? The goal of my Fit to Fat to 40 journey, my second experiment, is to honestly disrupt the fitness industry and bring change to an industry that needs change. Look, I think this whole world needs more empathy. And I think the fitness industry needs more empathy in general. And I feel like no one cares how much you know as a trainer, as a coach, as a leader, as an influencer. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care first. And this is the biggest mistake that I see people make, is like, hey, I have all these certifications and all these accolades, and all these letters after my name. That's great. But I promise you, your average person could care less about that until they know that you truly care about them, that empathy that you need to have. And so I'm trying to bring empathy to the fitness industry. And so that's why I created a Fit to Fat to Fit certification course for coaches to become Fit to Fat to Fit certified, so that they can lead with empathy and that they understand the mental and emotional side of transformation. Because that's the biggest thing that's missing, is that we all think it's about some new diet, some new supplement, some new workout, some new workout equipment is going to give me this result, which will bring me happiness. But man, I'm telling you, we've done that for decades and look where it's gotten us. And it really is about helping people overcome their perception of themselves. And I feel like if trainers and coaches in the fitness industry are more equipped on the mental and emotional side, then once people understand that person is leading them with empathy, then they're more willing to listen to diet advice and workout advice, because there's such a disconnect. And there's this disconnect that exists, and that maybe people don't see unless you're in the fitness industry, but you see it all the time, of people who are, naturally ripped and shredded, and they look good and they have good genetics, and they work hard, but the people that are left over here are looked down upon as lazy or less than by our society. And I feel like it's time for change. And so my whole goal with this Fit to Fat to 40 is, honestly, it's a vehicle. People are going to want to watch it. They're going to want to, what's this guy doing? But then hopefully they consume my content and understand my messaging that I'm trying to deliver. And that is, hey, we have to make this change in 2020 to lead with empathy and help people feel more understood, so that they're more willing to make a change, because they're operating out of a place of self-love versus self-hate. And I feel like now more than ever, our society needs that, man. You look at all the stuff that's going on in our society and our culture, so divisive.
And I feel like we're so quick to judge, based on someone's social media post or the t-shirt they're wearing or the color of their skin. And it's going down this path unless we can make a change. And I think empathy is one of those big disruptors that will make a change if we can learn how to develop it first and foremost. So honestly, man, that's my mission. Hopefully that makes sense.
It makes more sense than man. I mean, I haven't been short on working with coaches myself, hiring people. Anytime if I can't figure out the problem, I'll hire somebody. I mean, it's the easiest way to get a point in the right direction. And the other thing too is the most powerful coaches in my life were empathetic, but they weren't enablers.
Exactly.
That's a good
point.
Yeah. And it's not, they don't even necessarily, empathy doesn't even mean agreement, right? Yeah. It means I see you, I understand where you're at now that I've heard you and we've created psychological safety and I get it. Let me point you in the right direction from a caring standpoint because I care about you. Right.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful, man.
Yeah.
As far as future vision and stuff like that, you mentioned so this is going to be like a total documentary?
Yeah. So I have a film crew. I mean, that's the goal, right? I can't promise that that's going to happen because I don't control Netflix or Amazon Prime or these big companies, but that's the goal is we're documenting it and then post-production, sell it as a documentary because I feel like, social media is one thing for people to be able to follow this as it's happening, but there's people all over the world that have other important things going on. They just don't have access to it or aren't really engaged with it right now. But the documentary is definitely one of my goals, one of my plans to make it more impactful, more inspirational, more educational for people.
I love it, man. This is exactly what the fitness industry needs. It's especially from a client perspective. It's like, I don't know if I want to work with that person. They intimidate me. Right.
Yeah.
So good for you, man. Well, so everyone can find you and everything that you're doing. Please share where everybody can find where you're at.
So it's fat40.com. So 40 or FORTY.com. That's my website where you can follow this journey. All my social media handles though on every single platform is fat_fit.
Got it. Well, guys,
that's simple.
We'll have all the links in the show notes, as well as if you want to check this out on YouTube to see the red mohawked poodle.
Yes. That's all people are going to tune in for. Like, skip past Drew talking. Let's go to the poodle.
Let's go to the poodle at minute 21. What's the poodle's name, by the way? Is it Massimo, like the old brand? Like
yes, exactly. Yeah, we call him Mossy for short.
All right, Mossy the Mohawk dog. Okay,
exactly.
Got it. All right, gentlemen. Hey, that's all we got time for today. You can connect with Drew and find out everything that he's doing. We'll also have a link in the show notes for the show that Drew did 5 years ago if you want to check that show out as well. Go to gooddadproject.com/297 for this show. Again, gooddadproject.com/297. Drew, thank you so much, my man.
Larry, thank you, man. It's a pleasure.
Back at you.